Our series begins with Sia, a girl at the beginning of her dream journey. She aspires to be a famous actress and is at an audition for a big movie role. She's sitting in front of a panel to showcase her performance, which includes a famous actor named Cho. However, Cho is arrogant and treats her rudely. He makes her perform a very demeaning role to humiliate her. But when Sia matches his energy and approaches him, he gets scared and tells her to stop. After a while, Sia finds out she didn't get the role, likely because of Cho. Sia then goes to her boyfriend Chia's house, bringing him food. However, he seems anxious and asks her to come with him to the office, but she is tired and tells him she will rest for a bit. She then discovers her university friend Kin in his room, realizing that Chia has been cheating on her with Kin. Brazenly, Kin tells Sia that Chia wanted to leave her for a while, but was too embarrassed to do so. Kin advises Sia to break up with them and leave. Heartbroken, Sia leaves and on the street. She wakes up in the hospital and learns she has leukemia. If she doesn't find a matching bone marrow donor, her chances of recovery will decrease. After some tests, she discovers her case is rare, and only one person can donate to her, who is already in the hospital but is backed out of donating. Sia asks the doctor to let her know who the donor is so she can persuade him, but the doctor says he can't share that information. When the doctor steps out for a few minutes, Sia looks at his file, and finds out the donor's name is Link. She goes home and researches him, finding out he's a famous businessman and the CEO of an electronics company, which also sponsors her workplace. Her close friend Vivi enters and sees her researching Link. Vivi initially thinks Sia is trying to move on from her ex Chio with someone better, unaware of Sia's illness. Sia then whispers to Vivi about her leukemia, and that Link is the only one who can donate his bone marrow to her. Vivi is shocked and upset for not knowing sooner, but she tries to help. She finds out that Link will be at a private club the next day, and gathers all the information about him. The next day, Sia and Vivi go to the club and observe Link by the pool. Vivi tells Sia that the man standing and observing is Link's assistant, Wen, who is very close to him. The second closest person to Link is his friend, the famous actor. Vivi pretends to fall and injures herself, causing Sia to scream for help, which makes Wen come to assist them. While he is occupied, Sia sneaks in to meet Link. When he sees her, he thinks she's begging, but she tells him she needs a favor and asks if he is the bone marrow donor. He confirms he was, but changed his mind. Sia pleads with him to save her life, but he coldly responds that he's rich, and there's nothing she can offer him in return. Desperate, Sia jumps into the pool, pretending to drown, but Link sees through her act and walks away. Sia tries to meet him the next day to talk, but every attempt fails as he's heavily guarded. Eventually, she waits outside his company and calls out to him as he leaves. She begs him to help her and says she'll do anything in return. Coldly, he tells her he will help, but only on one condition: she must marry him. Stunned by what she hears, she gets into his car. She realizes he's serious and gives her his card, telling her to think it over and let him know. Sia goes and tells Vivi, who reveals she's always suspected something between Link and Cho. She feels they are more than just friends because Cho gets jealous of anyone close to Link. Vivi believes Link wants to marry Sia to use her as a cover from the media and convinces Sia to agree to the marriage for mutual benefit. Vivi calls Link and hands the phone to Sia to arrange a meeting. Sia goes to Link's company and waits for Wen to let her in, but she notices many fans surrounding someone. She takes out her phone to capture the moment, and as soon as he sees her, he accuses her of being a fan, stalking him for a role in the movie. Sia tells him she's not interested in him or the movie. Wen arrives and brings her inside, and when he sees her entering Link's office, he calls Link to object to their association, but Link tells him to mind his own business. Inside, Sia asks Link how he benefits from marrying her. He dismisses her question and instead says he needs her to attend a party with him and act as his girlfriend. He buys her a dress and a very expensive necklace. They attend a jewelry exhibition with only elite guests. Cho approaches Sia, accusing her of plotting to exploit Link and threatening to ruin her plans. Sia ignores him. Sia then spots Kia and Kin and tries to avoid them. Kin, wanting to provoke Sia, expresses interest in SIA's necklace, thinking she's just a model at the event. Gia impulsively bids on the necklace, thinking its highest price would be $5 million. However, Link intervenes, revealing its actual price of $50 million, embarrassing Gia, who signed a bid form he can't afford. Link offers to buy the necklace, but only if Gia and Kin apologize to SIA. They do, restoring SIA's dignity. Later, Link cuts the necklace, leaving Gia humiliated, and explains to SIA that he bought the necklace for his grandmother. He then takes SIA to see his grandmother, who is in the hospital. His grandmother is thrilled to hear about Link's relationship and wants to meet SIA immediately. They visit the hospital, where his grandmother expresses her wish to see Link settled before she dies. Touched by her words, SIA agrees to marry Link. The next day, SIA goes to Link's company and signs a 2-year marriage contract. They proceed with the wedding formalities and legal documents. Link promptly arranges for the bone marrow donation before SIA's condition worsens. They both see their marriage as a business arrangement. 3 months after the bone marrow transplant, SIA recovers. It's time for her to move in with Link. She bids farewell to Vivi, packs her things, and is driven to Link's house by Wen. Meanwhile, Cho is on his way to pick up a girl named Anne, a childhood friend of both Cho and Link, who secretly has feelings for Link. Anne asks Cho about Link, and he tells her that Link hasn't changed since she last saw him. She asks if Link has found the right girl, but Cho replies that Link only sees her as a sister, and advises her to move on. Determined, she asks Cho to take her to see Link. At Link's house, SIA is greeted by the maid, Huang, and heads to her room. She notices a drop of water falling on her and realizes it's from Link, who tells her this is his room and she should use another. Awkwardly, she leaves as he's only wearing a towel. Link's proximity flusters her, making her even more nervous. Anne and Cho arrive and are shocked to see SIA. Link tells them to wait downstairs, while he gets dressed and joins them with SIA, announcing that SIA is his wife of 3 months. Cho feels betrayed for not being told, and Anne, heartbroken, asks Cho to take her home. The next morning, SIA wakes to find breakfast prepared by Huang and Link waiting for her. She has breakfast with him, and he gives her a credit card, explaining it's a special family card with a significant amount of money since she is now his wife. He shares the PIN, which turns out to be her birthday. She thinks he's being sweet, but he reveals it's also his birthday. A strange coincidence. SIA returns to the agency that used to get her acting roles, but finds her agent Lisa upset with her for taking a 3-month break, unaware she was undergoing treatment. Lisa tells SIA there's an upcoming event with actors, and suggests SIA accompany the actress Yin as her assistant, provided she asks Yin herself. When SIA leaves the office, she bumps into Cho, who tries to irritate her. Yin standing next to him dismisses SIA arrogantly. Cho laughs at SIA's failed attempt to leverage Link's name. Feeling frustrated, SIA meets up with Vivi to vent. Suddenly, a thief snatches SIA's purse containing Link's credit card. She chases, but can't catch him, and fears Link's reaction. Shockingly, the thief returns the purse, apologizes, and runs away, leaving SIA bewildered but relieved. Link calls SIA, inviting her to lunch with his grandmother Anne and Cho. During the lunch, Cho tries to embarrass SIA, pointing out her lack of knowledge about Link. However, Link corrects her mistakes, even eating spicy food he dislikes to support her. Anne, annoyed, pretends to befriend SIA, and proposes they go shopping together. Cho confronts Link, warning that SIA is using him, and will eventually hurt him. Link assures him that he understands SIA, and knows what he's doing. The next morning, SIA and Link have breakfast together, during which she messily eats, and he gently wipes her mouth. Flustered, he rushes to drink milk and leaves for work, offering her a ride. Before she gets out, he gives her an expensive ring, indicating she should wear it as his wife. She removes it once out of the car, fearing it might get lost. At work, SIA overhears 2 girls discussing Yen's intentions to get close to Link because of his wealth and fame. Inspired, SIA claims she knows Link's maid and can get information about him. Soon, Yen approaches SIA, asking for details about Link, hoping to get closer to him. SIA realizes it's the first time she's used her status as Link's wife. At home, SIA searches Link's room to understand his interests and finds a picture of him with a robot, realizing he likes robots. When he catches her, she explains she wants to know her husband better. The next day, SIA buys a similar robot and gives it to Yen, saying Link loves it. Yen takes SIA to meet Link, presenting the robot. Although initially displeased, Link thanks her, taking the robot, which makes Yen happy and SIA relieved. To apologize, SIA buys Link a beautiful tie, but finds another man purchasing it. She explains she needs it to reconcile with her husband, and the man gives it to her. She gives the tie to Link, apologizing for her earlier behavior. Surprisingly, he forgives her quickly, holds her hand and moves closer, but she runs away, embarrassed. The next day, Wen notices the new tie and compliments Link, who is happy to mention it's from SIA. On the event day, SIA is ready to go with Yen, but her heel breaks, and she falls, injuring her side and ankle. Disappointed and in pain, she returns home, missing a crucial opportunity in her career. Link finds her in distress, applies ointment to her injuries, and reassures her that better opportunities will come, kissing her forehead before leaving. The next day, Link goes to work while SIA stays home to recover from her injury. She finds a stray dog and learns that its owner lives nearby. Wanting to take care of it until she can return it, SIA is warned by Huang that Link won't allow the dog in the house, because he had a beloved dog that was taken away when he was young due to Cho's asthma. However, SIA decides to hide the dog until she can convince Link. That night, SIA tries to please Link, hoping he'll be more agreeable. The next morning, Link wakes up screaming because he finds the dog sleeping next to him. He calls for SIA and realizes she brought the dog into the house. She explains she intended to discuss it with him, but Link, upset, wants to call Wen to remove the dog. SIA threatens to leave if the dog is sent away before finding its owner and takes the dog to her room. Link reluctantly agrees to let her be. Later, SIA's phone rings, and it's the dog's owner, who turns out to be the same young man who gave up the tie for her. He explains he learned from security that his dog is with her, and asks her to keep it for a few days. This young man is named Nan. SIA is with Vivi when her phone rings again, this time it's Anne inviting her to a movie. SIA agrees, knowing Vivi suspects and has something planned since she likes Link. Vivi insists on accompanying SIA. At the cinema, they don't find Anne, but encounter Cho instead. He explains that Anne fell ill and went to the hospital. Cho and SIA, who don't like each other, are left together while Vivi sits next to Cho, expressing her admiration for his acting and taking a photo with him. Suddenly, Cho starts coughing and leaves the room to catch his breath. Forgetting his phone, SIA picks it up and follows him, discovering he's in distress because he lost his asthma inhaler while buying water. With many fans around, SIA takes Cho to a gift storage room, asking him to wait while she looks for his inhaler. Vivi calls SIA, informing her about Cho's condition. SIA finds the inhaler, though it gets stepped on by someone, hurting her hand. She rushes back to Cho, who uses the inhaler and recovers. Grateful, Cho offers to repay her with a favor. SIA requests a small favor instead. She asks him to convince Link to allow her to keep the dog for a few days. Cho is surprised by her request, expecting her to exploit him for acting roles, and realizes he misjudged her. He explains that Link had a dog when he was young, but their father, who was very strict before he passed away, let the dog out, telling Link that dogs were for children. This caused a psychological change in Link. Meanwhile, Anne is in Link's office, inviting him to dinner the next day for his birthday. He declines, saying he will celebrate SIA's birthday instead. In the same day, Nguyen comes in and tells Link that Cho and SIA are stuck in the cinema surrounded by Cho's fans. Link is surprised, wondering why they would be together, and suggests that since they don't seem to like each other, she thought putting them in the same place might improve their relationship. After a while, Link goes to the cinema to get SIA and Cho out. He switches clothes with Cho to avoid drawing attention to himself, and SIA and Cho head for the elevator. As they exit, they encounter Link and Anne. Link takes SIA away without acknowledging Cho, leaving him with Anne. When SIA returns home, Link thanks her for helping Cho and agrees to let the dog stay for a few days. He moves closer and tells her that their relationship is more important to him than having a dog in the house. SIA is happy because he is treating her kindly. The next day, SIA prepares a feast to celebrate their birthdays together, as Link told her to wait for him to return. That evening, before leaving work, Link gets a call informing him that Anne is drunk and needs help. He goes to find her, and realizes she pretended to be drunk to have dinner with him. However, Link considers her like a sister and decides to leave because SIA is waiting for him. Anne cries, and Nan, who is sitting nearby, tells her that crying won't bring him back. Anne is shocked to see him, and Nan tells her that they were bound to meet again after all these years. He offers to help her. When Link returns, he finds SIA eating alone, upset because he was late. He takes her for a drive and gives her a piece of paper, revealing that he bought an entire building for her. SIA feels embarrassed because her gift for him is just a cake, half of which she had already eaten while waiting for him. Link tells her she has to make it up to him and takes her to a cake shop where they make a cake together. They have a great time, and Link admits he might be falling in love with her. The next day, SIA is walking with Vivi when they see Link in his car. He invites SIA to lunch, and Vivi hops in, assuming she's invited too. Link doesn't refuse and takes them both. During lunch, Vivi mentions that her lease is ending, and SIA offers her to with her and Link. Link, however, suggests Vivi stay with Nguyen instead, which Vivi finds appealing as she's not in a relationship. Vivi agrees, and Nguyen has no objections. SIA returns home to take the dog back to its owner. Nan calls her, saying he is too ill to come get the dog. SIA decides to take the dog to his place. When she arrives, she is surprised to find out that Nan, the man with the tie, is the dog's owner. He introduces himself properly and thanks her for taking care of his dog. Seeing how sick he is, SIA makes him some food and leaves it beside him with a note while he sleeps. However, Nan was pretending to be asleep and eats the food. The next day, SIA goes to Link's room to tell him she's leaving for a few days for a film shoot. When she doesn't find him there, she heads out and finds Link and Nguyen waiting for her. Link, aware of her job since his company is sponsoring the film, offers to take her to the hotel where the shooting will take place. Before she leaves, he gives her a ring, hugs her, and tells her he will miss her. SIA arrives at the hotel and runs into Anne. She is standing with an actor named Lou, who is the lead in the film. As SIA walks away, we learn that Anne has conspired with Lou to stay close to SIA and spread rumors of a relationship between them, aiming to ruin SIA's relationship with Link. Meanwhile, Link is trying to get closer to SIA and seeks Nguyen's advice. Nguyen suggests he talk to Vivi, who reveals that SIA loves dogs. The next day, while SIA is reviewing her scenes, Lou sits next to her and tries to touch her. Cho intervenes, claiming to be SIA's friend, and takes her away, stating he will protect her because she is his friend's wife. Later, it starts raining, and SIA grabs an umbrella to go to Cho, but finds him arguing with his father on the phone. It turns out Cho is not his biological son and was adopted to carry on the family name. When Cho finishes his call, he mistakenly thinks SIA was eavesdropping, and angrily tells her he doesn't need pity from someone like her. SIA throws the umbrella at him and leaves. The next day, SIA is invited to lunch with the film crew, but finds Lou trying to get close to her again. She sends her location to Cho, who thinks she's inviting him to eat. When he arrives, he sees Lou trying to force SIA to drink. Cho takes her away, understanding she was scared of Lou because he's the lead actor and could jeopardize her role. Cho promises to stay with her to ensure her safety, apologizes for his previous harsh words, and they decide to start fresh as friends. Meanwhile, Lou secretly takes pictures of them. The next morning, SIA hears a knock on her door and finds a beautiful puppy, a gift from Link, standing beside him. Link comes in and sits with her, but SIA says she has to get ready for filming. However, she receives a message saying the shoot is cancelled for the day, giving them a break, a change orchestrated by Link. He takes her to another hotel owned by his company, ensuring privacy. They share a double room and spend a romantic night together. The next morning, SIA wakes up in Link's arms, and they share a moment until they hear a commotion outside. Link goes to investigate and finds two men threatening the receptionist, who owes them 130,000. Link hands them his card, directing them to a place where they can get the money and warns them to stay away from the receptionist. He then takes SIA to leave, anticipating the men might return knowing he's wealthy. They meet the receptionist, whose name is Tong, outside, and she thanks them, promising to repay the money. Link declines the repayment, and they offer Tong a ride home. She lives in a simple hut and has been fired from her job. SIA offers her a job as her assistant, making Tong very happy. Tong accompanies SIA back to the hotel for the shoot. While filming, SIA receives a call informing her that Link has had an accident. She rushes to the hospital and learns that N was with him when the accident happened. When Link wakes up, SIA goes to see him, but he doesn't recognize her. Cho tells Link to send SIA out, thinking she's just an employee. The doctor explains that Link has temporary amnesia from the trauma, and can't remember the past 2 years. Despite Cho explaining to Link that SIA is his wife, Link insists and told him they got married abruptly. Their relationship wasn't solid, and N takes advantage of the situation, getting closer to Link and making SIA burn with jealousy. When Link throws her out of the hospital, SIA leaves but doesn't give up. She returns to the hospital with soup for him, but he accidentally spills it. She cleans up the mess and insists he drink the soup. He does, but soon feels stomach pain and needs to go to the bathroom. SIA helps him because his leg is injured. As he stumbles and falls on her, they end up very close. At that moment, Anne walks in, feeling jealous. She brings soup for Link, and he drinks it without any resistance, and tells SIA that her news is causing chaos, showing her rumors on her phone that claim she and Cho are in a relationship, with pictures to back it up. Lisa calls SIA to the company immediately, saying the rumors could cause problems for both her and Cho. Cho suggests SIA post a clarification, and he will do the same. Despite all her efforts, SIA keeps trying to remind Link of their love, but he genuinely can't remember, and Anne is always around. One day, Link sees SIA and Cho close together, and he gets upset, reminding her that she's his wife and should be careful about her relationship with Cho. On the day Link is discharged from the hospital, SIA arrives in a red car insisting she'll drive him home. They take Cho and Anne along, with Cho and Anne driving separately. SIA drives very slowly, causing them to arrive late. They find Cho and Anne already at the house, playing with SIA's dog. Link gets angry, asking who brought the dog. SIA says it was a gift from Link, but Anne claims that's impossible since Link hates animals. Link interrupts, saying he doesn't want the dog in his house, leading to a fight with SIA, who refuses to get rid of the dog, keeping it in her room instead. The next day, SIA tries to please Link by making him soup for breakfast. They're interrupted by Nguyen, who informs Link that his company is sponsoring a sports event for celebrities. SIA wants to participate, but Link disapproves, saying she must do it on her own effort. SIA overhears an employee at the company talking to a colleague, saying Link, the company's CEO, and Anne, the executive director of an advertising company, are definitely going to choose Anne over actresses because Link dislikes actresses. SIA confronts them, saying actresses are just as worthy and predicting Anne will be chosen because she's prettier. Anne overhears and thanks SIA for her opinion, inviting her to join the race. Back at home, SIA teases Link, saying she's going to participate in the race. The next day, she meets Cho at the race, who tells her that Yan must win first place because she's the face of the event. Meanwhile, Link is preoccupied with SIA and wants to see her in the race to cheer her on. Anne offers to go with him, and he agrees. As the race starts, Cho becomes exhausted and can't continue. Hearing journalists say Link is coming to present the first place award himself, Cho tells SIA to run and leave him behind. SIA runs and wins first place, much to Lisa's displeasure as SIA steals the spotlight from Yan. Indeed, she gets honored, but no one cares about her. Link comes and congratulates her, but she immediately wants to take a picture with Link. She sees SIA that Link is leaving with N. She goes and tells him that she is his wife, and he should treat her to something to celebrate her win. He takes her, N, and Cho out to lunch. While they are eating, Anne keeps flirting with Link and makes him serve her food. SIA gets annoyed and serves Cho food herself, while Link and Ann continue to interact. Cho sits there, unable to believe what's happening. The next day, SIA asks Cho to meet her at a restaurant, where they both disguise themselves to avoid rumors. SIA tells Cho she's fed up with Ann's behavior and wants him to keep her away from Link by any means necessary. She even wants him to marry her, but he refuses, saying that Ann is just like a sister to him. However, photos of Cho and Ann together leak, making it seem like they are romantically involved. SIA returns home to find Ann making chicken soup for Link. She wants to ruin it, but Hwang warns her that Ann would be upset if she found out. SIA asks Hwang to keep it a secret. However, Ann says it would be a waste to throw the soup away and drinks it herself, giving the chicken to the dog. SIA walks in and gets very angry. Link learns about SIA's actions but pretends to drink the herbal tea and gives him. He asks Ann to get his phone from the office, and as soon as she leaves, he reveals he was pretending to drink. Earlier, he discovered that after SIA drank the soup, she fell into a deep sleep. The doctor found an unusual amount of sedatives in her blood, confirming that the soup was drugged. When Ann returns, she finds Link asleep and takes him to bed. SIA enters and tells Ann to leave because he is her husband. As soon as Ann leaves, Link wakes up and retrieves the drink he had hidden. He calls Winnie to analyze the drink. The next day, a man visits SIA, telling her that Cho's father wants to meet her at his house. SIA informs Cho and Link through Yafify. When SIA arrives, Cho's father treats her rudely, saying his son will marry someone he approves of, not just any actress. Cho walks in and tells his father that he is disrespecting the family name by not even offering their guest tea, and asks SIA to leave with him. Cho's father tries to hit him with a cane, but SIA gets hurt instead. Cho takes her away and checks on her back. Link enters, learns what happened, and confronts Cho's father, saying he won't forgive him for hitting his wife. Link takes SIA home and she clings to him, afraid he will forget her again. He reassures her, takes her to her room, and treats her back, telling her he remembers everything and loves her. They spend the night together, and the next morning, SIA wakes up to find Link has put their wedding ring back on her finger and has left for work. Link meets Ann at a secluded place and plays a recording of their session with a hypnotist. It reveals that Ann orchestrated the accident, used hypnotism to make Link forget the past 2 years, and kept drugging him to prolong the memory loss. When confronted, Ann confesses she loves him and wants him to stay away from SIA. Link gets angry and tells her to leave him alone and stop tarnishing his image of her. He leaves and Nan arrives, handing Ann a handkerchief and mocking her failure to win Link over. Nan had been helping her and was pleased to see Link suffer. SIA has an interview for their new movie, and there is a challenge where she has to call a man and make him say I love you on camera. She hesitates, worried about calling Link and revealing their relationship, but at that moment, Link calls her. She answers, puts him on speaker, and manages to get him to say I love you in front of everyone. However, before she can hang up, Nan calls out to Link, revealing his identity. The interview ends awkwardly, and Chu leaves without intervening to avoid escalating the situation. Later, Nan visits SIA and expresses her disappointment, saying she never expected her to be Link's girlfriend, then walks away upset. SIA goes downstairs and finds Lisa, who says that if she hadn't heard it with her own ears, she wouldn't have believed it. SIA asks Lisa not to fire her from the company, because there is a rule stating that actresses in the company are not allowed to reveal the identity of the they love, but Lisa tells her she can't help because Link's influence is now supreme, and everyone will compete for her attention. At that moment, SIA gets a role in a movie set to be filmed in Beijing. SIA goes home to pack her things and finds a small safe hidden in the closet. Just as she is about to open it, Link tells her not to because it contains his work secrets. He changes the subject, making her forget about the safe. SIA calls Fifi, asking her to come to Beijing with her. Fifi agrees, and they head to Beijing together. During their free time, SIA spends time with Fifi, Joe, and Tong. There is an event that actors are supposed to attend. When the journalists swarm Joe and SIA, Joe manages to divert them, allowing SIA to leave comfortably. At the event, SIA sees Nan, who gives her a glass of juice and stands with her, mentioning that their company is contributing to the film. He leaves her to attend to some work. SIA looks stressed, so Joe goes to check on her. Two businessmen who want to work with Link approach them, hoping to get close to Link by employing SIA. Joe tells them she will think about it, and they leave. SIA appears exhausted, so Joe takes her to her room. Meanwhile, Nan watches them and adds something to the juice, causing SIA to feel unwell. As Nan leaves, he bumps into Link, who questions why he is there. Link doesn't like his presence, but Nan laughs it off, suggesting that Link's wife and his friend are alone together in a room. Joe opens the door when Link knocks and lets him in to check on SIA. SIA doesn't want Link to know she is unwell. Link tells her he has taken time off to spend the next 2 days with her. They spend the night together, and the next day, they go to the mall where SIA buys 2 t-shirts, one for herself and one for Link. They enjoy their day together. After returning home from the trip, SIA feels something is wrong, and visits the doctor who had previously treated her. The doctor tells SIA she has anemia. SIA reveals she had leukemia, and that the doctor performed surgery on her, but the doctor denies ever treating her or knowing her. The doctor advises her to get her medical reports. Confused, SIA returns home and searches Link's office for the reports, but finds nothing. She decides to open the safe Link told her not to. As she does, Link calls her. She answers while continuing her search, but Link notices her sudden silence and becomes concerned. He rushes home and finds her holding her medical reports. It is revealed that SIA does not have leukemia, only anemia. Link explains that he knew her from before and, upon seeing her in the hospital, wanted to get close to her. He exploited the fact that the hospital was his and fabricated her illness, making himself the only one who could save her, so she would come to him and they could live together. Because of what she heard, SIA is devastated. Link tries to explain that he did everything because he loves her, but she tells him she's shocked and leaves. SIA faints from the shock, and Link calls the doctor. The next day, SIA wakes up and wants to leave Link's house, but finds guards preventing her from leaving. When Ling returns home, she tells him she doesn't want to see him and plans to leave. Ling is worried and doesn't want her to go. When he realizes she hasn't been eating, he takes her hand to feed her, but she says she won't eat until she leaves. Ling agrees to let her pack her things and leave, but before she goes, he asks to tell her the truth. Ling shares that the first time he saw her was 2 years ago, in a cake shop, where they celebrated her birthday. He was there to buy a cake for himself, but the shop only accepted cash. She offered to buy the cake for him and wished him a happy birthday, which left a lasting impression on him. He was touched by her kindness, and from that moment, he was attracted to her, and felt a sense of compassion he had never felt before. Since then, he had been watching her and waiting for a chance to get closer, which led him to fabricate her illness. SIA starts crying and tells him that he keeps shocking her in different ways. She packs her things and goes to the nearest hotel. The next day, SIA moves back to her old apartment with Tong's help. Chu calls her, saying he's downstairs because Tong told him where she was out of concern. He picks her up and asks her to explain what happened. When Chu learns about Ling's actions, he tells SIA that things will eventually work out between them. Chu goes to Ling to convince him to make amends with SIA, but Ling tells Chu to stay out of it. As Ling tries to leave, Chu stops him, saying that what he's doing is wrong. Ling retorts that it's also wrong for a friend to fall in love with another's wife. Chu punches Ling, telling him that not only did he hurt his wife, but he also upset a friend who considers him like a brother. Chu then walks away. The next day, Chu arranges for SIA to meet him at a specific place, bringing 2 bicycles. He suggests they ride together to lift her spirits. They spend a pleasant time together, and eventually go to a beach where they scream to release their negative energy. When Chu drops SIA back home, she finds Ling waiting for her. Ling apologizes, which is the first time he has ever apologized to anyone. However, SIA still can't forgive him. Ling tells her he will keep waiting for her. He continues to care for her, bringing breakfast to her door every day. One day, SIA goes to meet someone about a job promoting his company's juice. When SIA tastes the juice, she finds it delicious and keeps drinking while reading the contract. However, she starts to feel dizzy and passes out. Chu receives a message from an unknown number alerting him that SIA is in danger. He rushes to her, but she is disoriented and thinks he is Ling getting close to him. Meanwhile, a hidden camera records everything. The people behind the setup want Ling to misunderstand the situation. Ling arrives because Chu called him to explain that nothing inappropriate happened. Ling takes SIA home until she recovers. Chu reflects on the situation, revealing that he indeed loves SIA, but can't admit his feelings because she's his lifelong friend's wife. The next day, SIA wakes up to find Ling sleeping next to her. He assures her that nothing happened between them. SIA returns home, but notices Chu is missing from work. Concerned, she calls him and finds out he's at the waterfront. She goes there with Tong, who waits outside. SIA finds Chu about to fall into the water, saves him, and they laugh together. Chu, feeling depressed, confesses he loves someone he can't admit his feelings to, but when SIA probes further, he changes the subject. Chu later meets his father, who shows him the compromising video of him and SIA, and hits him, fearing Ling's wrath might ruin their business. Chu loses consciousness from the blow. The next day, SIA learns Chu is in the hospital. She confronts his father, who was about to hit her, but Ling intervenes, warning the father that this was his last chance. Ling prepares documents to remove Chu's father from the family and warns him to stay away, revealing he knows Chu is his biological son, not adopted. Chu's father disowned him due to issues with Chu's mother. Chu is happy to hear that his father will be out of his life, and thanks Ling, considering him a brother. Ling reciprocates the sentiment. However, Ling receives shocking news at work that Chu has died in a hospital fire. SIA rushes to the hospital, hoping it's not true, but Ling confirms the tragedy. Devastated, SIA returns home, remembering her moments with Chu. Ling finds her and tells her he can't handle this alone, leading them to hug as SIA forgives him and agrees to return home with him. The police arrive, seeking information from Ling about Chu's death. Ling promises to inform them if he discovers anything. He tells SIA someone targeting Chu might now be after her because Chu always protected her. The next day, they visit the last place SIA met Chu and find a phone with photos implicating SIA and Chu's death. SIA insists she was trying to save him, and they realize someone set her up, suspecting Tong, who waited outside. SIA defends Tong, but the police arrive with the incriminating photos and want to question SIA again, as she remains a suspect in the murder case. SIA and Ling attend Chu's funeral, where Chu's father mourns his son. After the funeral, Ling asks SIA to go home because he has an errand to run. However, SIA decides to follow him to see where he is going. He heads to her old apartment to interrogate Tong, as he is sure she is involved in something. Tong appears nervous, and when SIA joins them, Tong expects her to defend her. Instead, SIA expresses her trust in Ling and demands Tong confess her involvement. Tong admits to her wrongdoing, and SIA tells her she can't work with her anymore due to her betrayal, but will refrain from reporting her to the police. Ling decides to hold a press conference to clarify some points due to rumors about him and SIA. Ling is running late, so Wing starts the conference, announcing that SIA and Ling are officially married and that the rumors about SIA being involved in Chu's murder are false. Just then, SIA arrives with Tong, who claims she will reveal the truth. Tong accuses SIA of killing Chu, stating that despite SIA forgiving her, she must uphold justice for her friend Chu. She claims that SIA is the murderer. Suddenly, Ling enters the conference with Chu, who says he will recount the details of his death himself. Chu takes the stage and reveals that the person behind his ordeal is An, scared, tries to leave but is surrounded by reporters. Chu continues, explaining that a nurse drugged him, and before he lost consciousness, he saw An. When he regained consciousness, he was tied up and kidnapped. The body they saw wasn't his. The guards told him An orchestrated everything and promised to pay them a large sum. Chu managed to escape and went straight to Ling. With her scheme exposed, An tells Ling she won't reveal who helped her because she wants him to live in pain with SIA. The police then arrest her. Afterward, Chu tells them his friend is waiting to take him home. We learn her name is Gio, and she helped him escape using her motorcycle. Chu had promised to pay her for her help. As Chu leaves, a car stops beside him, and his father steps out, asking him to return home. Chu refuses, but then notices his father's poor health as he nearly collapses. He learns his father has heart problems and had been deeply affected by Chu's presumed death. Chu decides to go home with him. At home, his father shares the story of Chu's mother, explaining that when Chu was young, his mother discovered his father was going to marry someone else for business reasons. Unable to cope, she left, not considering Chu. His father felt anger every time he saw Chu's face. Now, filled with regret, he wants to mend their relationship. Chu decides to give him a chance, agreeing to have dinner with him. Later, Chu returns home for dinner and tells his father he will live with him again. Sia returns to work and gets a new film role, a cameo alongside Chu. Before she leaves to shoot the film, Ling gives her earrings with a tracking device to ensure her safety. While shopping for clothes at the mall, Sia notices a woman watching her and feels she has seen her before. At home, she goes through Ling's photo album and realizes the woman is Ling's mother. Sia contacts Wing and asks him to find someone for her. When he asks for the name, she says she doesn't know. When he tells Ling about Sia's request, Ling respects her privacy and doesn't want to know more. Sia then meets with Chu and asks him if he loves her, as she suspects. Chu hides his feelings, laughs, and tells her she's the last person he'd ever fall in love with, joking that he'd rather love Ling. He convinces her that she is just a friend to him. As they talk, Sia gets a call and learns the location of Ling's mother. She leaves Chu and heads to meet her. Chu, in his car, spots Jay and stops to give her the money he owes her. She tells him her motorcycle is broken and she needs to deliver orders for her job. He ends up helping her with the deliveries, starting to feel like he could fall for her. Sia meets Ling's mother, who tells her she had been waiting for her. They sit down and Ling's mother explains that she left because Ling's father was controlling and she couldn't live with him. She couldn't take Ling with her, so she remarried and stayed away. About a year and a half ago, her son with her new husband died, and she went to see Ling, but he wanted nothing to do with her. Sia offers to help them reconnect. Ling's mother starts secretly visiting Sia, bringing food for Ling. Ling notices the familiar taste, but doubts himself. One day, Ling's mother visits Sia to cook for Ling while he's out. Ling comes home early to surprise Sia and is furious to see his mother. He kicks her out, and when Sia tries to calm him, he snaps at her too. Later, Ling apologizes to Sia, explaining that he hates his birthday because it's the day his mother left him, making him feel abandoned with his controlling father. Sia comforts him, assuring him everything will be okay. Ling, unable to sleep, goes downstairs and Sia finds him holding a picture of his mother, expressing his longing for her. Sia encourages him to talk to his mother and mend their relationship. Ling agrees, seeming relieved by the suggestion. The next day, Ling's mother visits, and they welcome her. Hearing a noise outside, Ling finds Nan, his stepbrother. Ling dislikes Nan, but pretends to like him. Ling's mother leaves to avoid upsetting Ling further, and Nan offers to take her to her hotel. Once there, Nan reveals his hostility, choking her and vowing not to leave her or Ling in peace, showing his disturbed nature. Sia learns from Ling why he hates Nan. The day his mother left, he saw Nan in the car with her, thinking she knew him well since he was the owner of a dog she helped. Ling warns her to stay away from Nan. The next day, Sia runs into Nan, who says Ling probably told her to avoid him. They have a drink together, and Nan talks about how much he loves Ling, even though Ling dislikes him. Sia feels unwell, and Nan suggests she might be pregnant. Sia takes a pregnancy test, which confirms she's expecting. The first person she tells is Ling's friend, advising her to tell Ling when he returns from a business trip, which coincides with his birthday. Sia plans a surprise party for Ling, inviting his mother and loved ones. She leaves to pick him up from the airport, but he arrives home alone and is delighted by the surprise, asking where Sia is. When they realize she never made it to the airport, Ling worries. Sia has been kidnapped. Ling finds her car and confirms the abduction. Tong brings food to Sia, who asks her to fetch the earrings Ling gave her, containing a tracking device. Ling notifies the police, and they trace the earrings. However, Nan, the kidnapper, discovers the tracking device and moves Sia. Ling and the police track the initial location, but find it empty. Ling learns from his mother that Nan wants revenge because her marriage to Ling's father led to his mother's death, fueling Nan's desire for vengeance. Police eventually locate Nan's new hideout. Ling joins the police raid, but Nan escapes with SIA. Despite setbacks, Ling remains determined to find her and bring her back safely. Nan heads to a house on the highway, planning to harm SIA's unborn child. One day, he finds SIA drawing and takes her drawing, using it to contact Ling, arranging a meeting. He gives Ling the drawing, knowing it describes their location. Returning to SIA, Nan ties her up, saying he knows what she's doing, and waits for Ling to settle things. Ling arrives to rescue SIA, but Nan threatens to kill their baby if Ling moves. Feeling guilty, Tong hits Nan, causing him to drop the gun. Ling fights Nan, but Nan manages to get the gun again and shoots at SIA. Ling takes the bullet for her just as the police arrive. Tong tells Nan to flee, promising to take the blame, while Ling loses consciousness in SIA's arms. Ling's grandmother rushes to the hospital, where she encounters his mother but ignores her, focusing on Ling when informs them that Nan's car crashed and burned, leaving his fate unknown. The doctor reveals Ling lost a lot of blood and is in a coma, needing a miracle to wake up. SIA stays by Ling's side daily, waiting for him to wake up. One day, Chu has breakfast with his father, who asks who is running Ling's company now. Chu tells him to forget any schemes, but his father says he's worried. He heard from investors that someone in the company is voting to oust Ling from management. Chu rushes to find out who's in charge. Meanwhile, SIA catches Ling's mother searching for important documents in Ling's office. Wen reveals that Ling's mother is trying to take over the company for personal gain. The next day, at a meeting to determine the new company head, Ling's mother is shocked to see SIA, who declares herself Ling's legal representative, accompanied by Chu, representing his father. SIA and Wen had been convincing the businessmen to keep Ling as the head, and they succeed, defeating Ling's mother in the vote. SIA confronts her, calling her the worst mother ever. Ling's mother admits her selfishness but felt she had to seize the opportunity without guilt. Chu returns to his father, happy with the outcome. Realizing the company is in crisis and his father's health is failing, Chu decides to study business management and quit acting to help his father. SIA sits by Ling, crying while holding his hand, when he suddenly tells her to stop crying as it's giving him a headache. Overjoyed, she realizes his condition has improved. The doctor confirms it's a miracle but says Ling still needs rest. SIA sees Chu with the girl who helped him escape when he was kidnapped, sensing a potential relationship between them. They sit together, and SIA embarrasses Chu, hinting they look good together. Ling is discharged from the hospital and visits his mother, who is packing to leave. He tells her he knows what she did while he was unconscious, but isn't there to talk about that. Instead, he thanks her for proving that SIA deserves his love and will protect him. Leaving her, he rejoins SIA. SIA and Vivi attend Chu's film premiere, but Vivi leaves to talk to a director. Suddenly, a man drugs and kidnaps SIA. When Chu can't find SIA, he realizes she's been kidnapped again, and informs Ling. It's revealed that Nan is the kidnapper, having survived. He calls Ling, threatening to hurt him by targeting SIA, but plans to toy with him first. Chu contacts the police who shoot Nan, allowing SIA to escape, and Nan is arrested. Ling and Chu are finally free from Nan's menace. 8 months later, SIA is about to give birth. Chu is officially in a relationship with Jae, and Wen confesses his love to Vivi, but they're interrupted by SIA going into labor. Surrounded by their loved ones, they all support SIA as she gives birth, and thus, the series concludes. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and check out our other selection of recaps. Take care.